Okay, see again, I can see the way you just put that one in there. That's you're putting it up there as a possibility, waiting to see what the reaction is going to be, because that's huge, isn't it?
It is.
That would be that you literally could change all the systems and
Yeah.
all the agreements out the window, rip up the agreement.
And this works both ways. The UK might want to change the relationship with us.
Can they do that without your permission?
It would be a position for negotiation, I think.
Something tells me they probably can just simply say that's enough's enough, just like the reciprocal agreements in the past.
Well, I mean, we have the reciprocal agreement with VAT, for example, and they could, if they wanted, and indeed have threatened to walk away from that. They could find that the Isle-of-Man relationship is too complicated and may want to change all that. The other thing you must not lose sight of now, though, is that the UK has changed. Once Scottish independence referendum was out of the way, the genie came out of the bottle in terms of devolving new powers, new revenue,
corporate tax, Northern
corporate
Ireland.
tax.
Look at
Northern Ireland has
following.
Corporate tax. Scotland will have VAT. They may want a similar relationship between the Isle of Man and the UK. Wales will want further taxes. The UK, England itself will be looking for new benefits. The whole world around us is changing fast at the moment, and we cannot stand still and say, what we need to do is put parking charges up and everything's okay. Life isn't like that
But
anymore.
when I put the question at the British Irish Council to you, and the other two chief ministers are saying, look at Scotland, they're about to have all sorts of control. All three of you basically said, we're relaxed about it, let them get on with it. I can't believe, seriously, you're not losing a bit of sleep over the fact that all these areas are going to devolve and start having their own rates.
We still don't know fully what the new Scottish arrangements are. The Smith report has come out and it's given a list of possible options. VAT obviously is one, and that's the immediate one that we will look towards. But we need to look at the small print, I think, over the next few months. And in between all that, of course, we've got the general election coming along in the UK. That could change things quite dramatically, because I think this will be an election probably without precedence in terms of the outcome.
Well, it's going to be giveaways in one hand and, of course, taking back in the other, and indirect taxation. We're going around back to the same thing again, isn't it? I mean,
you are to a certain extent, but this time it looks unlikely that there is going to be a clear majority party, whether it's the Tories or the Labour Party. I'm on record many times saying my belief is Alex Salmond is going to be the kingmaker in Westminster. He will be wanting to extract as much as he possibly can out of Westminster in return for his support for Scotland. And that again might have further ramifications on some of the other devolved assemblies.
You're keeping his phone number handy, are you?
I
know you're friends with him.
I have a good relationship with Alex. We know each other quite well now, and we certainly will be talking closer to the election to see how things pan out. I mean, the one good thing is, if it does turn out like that, I hope we'll have a friend in court in Westminster, someone we can rely on to advise us and help us. But the overall point I'm making, we mustn't. It's easy to break this down into this tax or that tax or this charge or that charge. Is that the world around us is changing and changing at a frightening rate, frankly, if you look at it through a political perspective. And we really have no idea what the British Islands, in its general sense, are going to look like over the next 5-10 years. We don't know what the financial relationships between those various elements is going to look like. We have to be absolutely on our toes over this next few years to watch what's going on and to keep building our friendships with the various
but I was saying about this
assemblies.
tipping point about the living costs of the Isle of Man versus the UK. You have to obviously keep that in mind, that you cannot be more expensive on everything to live on this island and still obviously travel off it and so on. That'd be catastrophic, wouldn't it? To make this a worse place to live financially.
Yes, we obviously have to keep the cost down as much as we possibly can. We aren't that much cheaper here. In fact, in many ways, we're a lot more expensive here than living in parts of the United Kingdom. And that is likely to be the situation. Quite apart from anything else, we have 85,000 people. We only have a small population to draw from, so it's a question of scale.
Okay. But you're not going to touch inheritance tax and all these things that make it very nice for people of a certain age to come over here and retire, for instance.
Well, I very much hope we will not come to that. Inheritance.
That's not a no then.
No, inheritance tax is probably the most important tax of all, which brings people over here. It's not the tax cap. It's not just ordinary income tax. Inheritance tax is the one that
Will you look at it then?
I doubt very much we will be looking at it at all. In politics, you never can say never. We don't know what the future is going to bring. But Mr. Tier, the Minister, has made it very clear, and I agree with him 100%, this is not the time for putting up income tax. We've got to try and squeeze out savings or generate revenues from other sources. Otherwise, confidence is going to go, and the economy will follow shortly afterwards. This is an incredibly complex and challenging period that we're living through at the moment. Everything is under review, both politically, tax-wise, and economically. And we really do need to work together and pull together to actually make sure we can get through this.
Well, extending this interview, because now we're right on here, that you've been in power in this government now, what, 3 odd years?
Yeah.
You've always been telling us we're living through challenging times. Suddenly I'm hearing it coming back forcefully again into your language there, when we were thinking we were coming out of difficult times. Are we not there?
Well, we are, in one respect, we are getting very close now to rebalancing the revenue budget. But this is politics. As one problem is resolved, others rear its head. We are going through unprecedented times at the moment with what's happening with devolution, with what's happening on.
But are you worried then? Are you more worried or less worried than you were last year, or when you took over?
I always worry.
Are there dark clouds out there we need to be more aware of?
There are clouds.
Besides what we've already stated.
There are clouds there. I think we can get through it. But they are different clouds to what we've been dealing with.
Is this behind the scenes stuff that we don't know about?
A lot of it is political. It's why I spend so much time off the island. We just spent 2 weeks, part of the week in London, part in Brussels. We've had the British Irish Council over last week, where we met all the chief ministers of the devolved assemblies. It's by constantly building up friendships, building up intelligence, talking to people, finding out what's happening, that we can eventually build up a picture which will enable us then to defend the Isle of Man and anticipate any problems which might come down the road. But I've spent a great deal of time in Westminster in the last 2 or 3 weeks, spoken to lots of politicians, and I haven't yet found 2 politicians who've agreed on what the likely outcome of the next election is. And they're right in the thick of it. So it just highlights really how unpredictable this situation is we're in at present. It's not something for us to be panicking about. The alarm bells aren't going to ring out on the streets tomorrow, but it just highlights that we are moving on now to a wider issue which may have implications for the Isle of Man. At this stage, we don't know what those implications are likely to be, and it'll probably be some little time before we do.